القطيع قاعد يلحقني. ما شاء الله يا عيال، خلاص صرت مزارع. ايش رايكم بس؟
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.
Hi, this is Sabri. I'm doing a presentation for goats that have been experimentally injected with Trapezium congalis, and this is my presentation. So let's get right into it. And so cool. The pathogens of anemia are actually better known as Trapezium congalis, were injected into different goats to see what kind of effect that would have on them. This experiment was conducted in April 2006 in Uganda, Africa, and the authors were Mashio and Roy Shaya. I think I'd said their names correctly. So a quick introduction into this experiment would be what kind of effect that living parasites have on domesticated animals such as goats. And our hypothesis is that these parasites will actually feed off the host and feed off the red blood cells, producing shorter lifespans for the actual host because the parasite needs to survive. So some of the predictions is that the goats have the regenerative ability to recover from anemia. However, the parasites might not result in the killing of those animals, but it will give some severe health issues to those goats. So background information and objectives. Why was this experiment conducted? So in small African villages have the highest rate of anemia. And the goats there are actually infected very commonly. So the objective of this experiment was to detect the severity of those parasites and see how the livelihood of those goats will be affected when they are infected by those parasites. So the methods that we used was that we gained 25 male goats aged between 9 to 12 months and then divided them into 3 groups, the first and second and third group. The first and second group were actually injected with approximately 10 to the third transomes per milliliter in their food. So they would eat it and then the parasites would actually just get into them. However, the third group, which was part of 5 sheep that were not infected and they were there for control purposes, just to see how their blood will be compared to the other goats and see the difference between both. So in order to carry out this experiment, the goats were actually take blood samples and they'll take those blood samples 3 times every week, and then measure their PCV, which is their packed cell volume. Usually packed cell volume of blood is around 30%, and if it goes anywhere below 15%, this will result in death because of blood issues and vascular circulation. So anything below 15% will result in death, and if the sheep were actually going closer to that number, then they will be injected with 3.5 milligrams of dimazine just so that they will not die. So the results of this experiment was that the mean PCV measurement were actually lower than the uninfected ones. And they were actually very lower. On the first 4 weeks, they dropped from 26% to 17% packed cell volume. That's really bad. That's almost close to death because they were getting really close to dying. So as you can see, they were actually treated with treatment after that. And by week 19, they have actually received the very most fluctuation in blood, and almost all of the sheep had to be injected with dimazine just so that they don't die, which leads to the conclusion that those parasites were actually able to feed off so many red blood cells that it would actually kill the host inside. So this experiment shows a sharp decrease of the PCV counts, and this leads to the conclusion that anemia is actually very destructive for hosts, and which leads to the supporting of the hypothesis. However, it is so severe that it might kill it instead of it being able to recover. This is a powerful tool to test for like toxic parasites and understand how those parasites affect other living things. This will actually be very relevant to other studies, just like the coronavirus and other infectious disease, as in like parasites and their host. So something like the coronavirus, where how it affects its host and how it actually kills them sometimes, and how it doesn't in others, just depending on the age and how strong the immune system is. That's all stuff that is linked to the red blood cells. And other diseases like Ebola and uh, other infectious diseases that actually feed off the host. These are just very valuable information that is very important to brush up on. But if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. But that will actually conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for watching.